Welcome everyone. So I promised I'd start on time, and finish on time. So it's really great to have everybody here. Let me get my notes.
Let me get the DC off.
I did already.
Okay, good.
This picture up here, this print, is of Schubert with his friends, and his friend, painter Schwind, painted that. Morris von Schwind, Austrian Romantic painter from the 19th century, and he wrote this about these musical evenings they would have. It's not evening, but we'll pretend. Okay, there could be no happier existence. Each morning, Schubert composed something beautiful, and each evening he found the most enthusiastic admirers. We gathered in his room, he played and sang to us. We were enthusiastic, and afterwards we went to the tavern. We hadn't a penny, but we're blissfully happy. So it goes on and says the Schubertiades were unfortunately not always blissfully happy. The police broke up one of these parties, suspecting revolutionary activity after the French Revolution. They arrested Schubert and his friends. One went to trial and in prison for over a year, followed by banishment from Vienna. So that, I promise, won't happen today. So the first thing I'll play, I should welcome some special guests. My teacher, Vicki King. So she's here from Bloomington, Indiana, and it's kind of a long story how we ended up working together. And also I want to welcome especially Charles Rubio and Linda Lopez, who are we see every week at the symphony during the season and sit next to them. So welcome to them.
Parterre 19.
And my Uncle Louis and my Aunt Midgie and all of our friends, the Roses, and all of you. I'm not going to name everybody right now, but everybody here is very special to us. So the first thing I'm going to play, actually the first two pieces are by Bach, and one is from the beginning of his career, and one is from the end. And I thought this book is, all the pages are falling out because, come on in, Russ, get a seat. Yeah, so all the pages are falling out because I've had this since I was in high school and took a class in Baroque music at Emory University. But it's good to understand the composers that you're working with. So he did get in trouble as a youngster for pulling a sword on one of his classmates and calling him a nanny goat bassoonist. And that actually went to court. And later, when he had a job playing for the church, he was reproved, and it's recorded that he was reproved for playing rather too long. And then he was reproved again afterwards for playing too short. And finally, in 1706, about the same time that this first piece I'll play, please come in and sit down. Is about the same time that he wrote this first piece I'll play as a youth in his early 20s. It was written and recorded. It's pointed out to the organist Bach that he is to declare himself as to whether he is willing to make music with the scholars as he is instructed to do or not. Because if he considers it no disgrace to be connected with the church and to accept his salary, he also must not be ashamed to make music with the students. So apparently the students were not quite up to his caliber. It says, he declared that he will do this, okay? Furthermore, he was asked by what right he recently caused a strange maiden to be invited into the choir loft and let her make music there. So it says in the note here that the strange maiden was probably Maria Barbara Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach's cousin, who he married the following year. So that's the first piece I'll play is a toccata from his early career, and without further ado, I'm going to actually walk out, and walk in again.
Oh.
Bye.
Yeah, yeah.
Makes him relax.
Great intro.
There we go. These were socks. No shoes.
These are friends from sailing. Big Creek.
So nice.
They actually live in Virginia.
Happy to be here.
You can sit here, you can sit here, wherever you like.
Has everyone got a program, by the way?
I'll give you some. I gave mine up.
Oh, okay. Okay.
What's that?
You're the one who made them.
Yeah. I gave mine.
So the next piece I'll play is also by Bach towards the end of his career, and so he passed away at 65 years old. So this was, maybe he was 62 when he did this, and it's quite a famous event because not only did he write about it in letters, but and not only did other people write about it in letters, but it was even in the newspaper. So so all of this is recorded. He was invited to go to Sanssouci and play for the Emperor Frederick II, and also to see the new. I think they called it pianoforte instead of forte piano, but to go see the new invention, the pianoforte, and when he got there, the Emperor said that he had a little theme that he composed, and he was wondering if Bach would please do a 6-part fugue on it, like improvise. So he said, well, I'll do a 3-part fugue on it. So he did it, and then he went home and he wrote a 6-part one, and he wrote other pieces and so forth, and then presented it all to the Emperor. And but there's a little side, so that's the story that everybody knows. But there's a little bit more to it, because Schoenberg wrote in 1950 that he didn't think that the Emperor actually wrote the theme. So he says that what happened was he asked Bach's son, Philip Emanuel, is that who it was? Carl Philip Emanuel. Yep. Carl Philip Emanuel to write a theme that was impossible to use. So he asked him to make something that was just completely impossible, and it was kind of a royal joke. He said, Schoenberg says, the king wanted to see the embarrassment of one who had experienced only battles which he won. He wanted to enjoy the helplessness of the victim of his joke, when the highly praised art of improvisation could not master the difficulties of a well-prepared trap. Okay, so that's why it's called a musical offering, because Opfer in German also means like a sacrificial victim, you know. So it was all full of jokes, and in fact, even I won't read it, but the Latin inscription for the piece that I'll play is actually, if you take the first letter of each word, spells out the type of piece that it is. And part of the collection of pieces, which I won't be doing today, that go along with this were so-called riddle canons, where he didn't even write down the music, but he just gave a riddle. And if you could solve the riddle, you could figure out the music to play. So, anyway. So this is the musical offering. I'm going to prepare here, and then I'm going to step out again just to get my bearings. gentleman who wrote the next thing I'll play. And this painting was made at about the time that this piece was written. And Beethoven supposedly was completely deaf by this point, that he wrote this and the other two sonatas that were written at the same time. He was having terrible problems. He had been extremely sick, and in fact, he died a few years later. And he was so sick for a year that he couldn't really write, and then he recovered enough and wrote some of his amazing last works. And he was in the process of a custody battle with his sister-in-law over his nephew, and spending all his time in court and so forth. So it was quite a tough time in his life. So Andras Schiff says about this piece that, so there's three movements in it that you'll hear. So Schiff characterizes the first movement as very lyrical. The second one is a joke. I'll say more about that in a second. And then the third is metaphysical. So it's a very varied work, and it has a lot of different stuff in it. But Beethoven was experimenting by this time, so he was doing things like putting the pedal on and leaving it on and letting it make like a soundscape, and having repeated notes and trying to express emotion through music. And the second movement, the one I said is a joke, it has two popular songs in it. One is, in English, would be My Cat Had Kittens, and the second one, Ich bin Luderlich, is a little bit obscure, but it seems like I am slovenly, du bist Luderlich, you are slovenly, or you are wanton, or whatever the proper translation is. I am a jerk, you are a jerk is another thing I've heard. But it was like a drinking song. So that's the second movement. And then the third movement consists of very slow parts that are supposed to be like sickness or death, and kind of life-affirming fugue, which is interspersed with each other. And in fact, in the middle of that, you hear, it actually says in the instructions that you should slowly come back to life. And that's what happened to him. So he had jaundice and other sicknesses, and he almost died, and he came back to write this. So without further ado, I will set up my thing here. I'll walk out of the room and come back and play it for you.
But it's nice too to see he's got the, for the thing for changing the page. Yeah, so he doesn't need like a page turn key. So I'm off the hook. I don't have to change the page, turn the pages anymore.
That's very
So a couple more tidbits about that. Andras Schiff gave a master class on this that you can see on YouTube some years ago, and he asked the student. He said, "Did you ever play Beethoven's piano?" And the student says, "No." He says, "Well, when you do." So, but I think it's pretty hard to get to go play Beethoven's piano. Anyway, he was trying to explain that Beethoven's piano is very different than our piano. And the second thing he did is he told the student that Beethoven didn't want it to be easy. So don't take the easy way out when you play it. Okay, so the next piece is the Opus 28 Ballade of Chopin. So a ballade is a piece that tells a story. And it's kind of like a poetic story, like maybe like a fairy tale or something like that. Like you know the word ballad, but anyway, but ballade, okay, it's before the ballad, but still it's the same kind of idea that there should be some kind of story. So on the other hand, Chopin was very much against program music that told a story. So what is this ballade then? So Greg Numchuk has a series on YouTube where he goes through about an hour for every single piece that Chopin wrote. So he, hundreds and hundreds of hours of lectures on the music. So his take on this is that it's really and many people have all kinds of imaginative stories that they tell about the story behind the piece, but I like Greg's. He says that it's really a story about the music. So there's two main themes in the music, and the first one is kind of depressed theme. It's kind of stuck in a rut, and it never can really get out, and it's just like stuck there. And then the second theme like changes a lot and it keeps trying to rouse the first theme out of its lethargy. And pretty much unsuccessfully until the end, and then you'll hear the first theme. But as Greg says, it's not a happy ending. So with that, I will go ahead and play this. Oh, he wrote Chopin. I'm going to walk out and in again. Chopin wrote this when he was a young man, I guess in his 20s. Well, he died in his 30s. So anyway, he was just leaving Poland, and he was in Austria before he moved to Paris, and he finished it actually in Paris. So it was right at that kind of time period in his life. So now it's time for dessert. So, so we're going to get set up here. Let me tell you a little bit about this. So we're going to play a few duets by Brahms, Hungarian dances, and we actually have been playing these on the internet with each other. So we're not even practicing in the same place. So we're doing it online, and we've got it down. We have all the equipment and everything where we can do this now, and so we've been working on these, and so the Hungarian dances were among Brahms's most famous and profitable things that he put together. When he went to his publisher, he said, "No opus number," and the publisher said, "No opus number? What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, I didn't really write them." He said, "I just collected like folk songs and put them together, so I shouldn't have an opus number on it." Well, actually, it's a little bit even worse than that, because it turns out that they weren't all folk songs. So some of them were actually pieces composed by other people. So number 1 and 5 that we'll play, that are two of the most popular ones. Number 5 was written by Bela Keller, and it says, which Brahms mistakenly thought was a traditional folk song. And then it says there's a note in the Ludwig Master's edition of Hungarian Dance Number 1 that states the material for this dance is believed to have come from the divine Tsardis of Hungarian composer and conductor Miska Borzo. So anyway, but he didn't claim to have written them. He claimed to just put them together. But they were, so I actually, even though you'll be familiar with some of these, I didn't really know what they were, though I'd heard the tunes before. And but we saw this concert at the Kennedy Center with Yuja Wang and conducting Tarmo Peltokowski, and with the NSO. And for encore, they played a couple of these Hungarian dances. So we didn't know what they were, and we went up to Michael Broder, who's the music columnist for the Washington Post, and asked him. He said, "Well, I think they're Hungarian dances." So, in fact, they were. And then he wrote about them in the Post. And here they are. Here you can see they are having a lot of fun. So she's the pianist, and he was the conductor, and they played together some of these Hungarian dances. So I hope you enjoy them. They're a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun playing them, and so. Yeah, we're not going to go out. No.
Thank you.